everyone. Good morning. Welcome to Conversations with MM. This is Marivir here in New York City. Welcome to another exciting episode this February, and I hope everybody's doing well today. So I am so honored to have a guest from Seattle today. She is the first Filipino American executive chef of an institution, a fine dining institution in Seattle, Canlis restaurant. So I'd like to welcome a person who seems to be so elusive because she's so busy. Finally, I have her here. Hello, Aisha
Hi,
Ibrahim, ladies
Tita.
and gentlemen. The
Hi,
first
Tita.
executive chef of, woman executive chef of Canlis restaurant. Hi, Aish. Thank you for your time. I know
Thank
you're
you for
just
having me.
wrapping this around your busy schedule. Thank you. So I'm so proud of you. The last time we had a conversation was in April 2019. This was like before the pandemic or during the pandemic already. You were in Thailand, I suppose,
Uh-huh.
and you were trying to do something there, but then you had fate had it that you had to come back to the US for a much better work now in Canlis. Congratulations. So how have you been? How's work? And what is it doing out there since we
I have
last talked?
been, yeah, I've been doing well, extremely busy as per, our last few conversations.
Yeah.
And Canlis has been quite the adventure. I wasn't expecting to move back to the US because I had my heart set on something in Bangkok previous to this, but
Yeah.
you never know where life takes you, So
Oh my
we
gosh.
are, yeah, we're finding ourselves very busy here. This is a 73-year-old institution in American fine dining. It's
Mm-hmm.
the third generation owners of Canlis Restaurant. And so, it's iconic, Seattle's best fine dining restaurant. I would say arguably the Pacific Northwest's best fine dining restaurant and most
Mm-hmm.
progressive fine dining program. So, yeah, it's really been a privilege and an honor to have this position and to helm like the seventh chapter so far. Lots of challenges, especially post COVID with the hospitality industry,
Right.
but
Oh my.
nothing that we didn't kind of expect or foresee or try to anticipate. So we're making it happen.
Amazing you. So Aish, what new thing, what innovation did you put into the institution with you around? I
So
know you're so
I'll
humble, but just say it to us. Tell it to us.
I will say, the challenge for me was I'm in this period of my life right now as a professional and as an adult where I've become
Mhm.
so proud of like my heritage, my indigenous roots, my
Yes.
culture, of my Southern Mindanaoan roots. I've been really eager to express that wherever possible, and
Mhm.
so that's been something that we have been playing around with on the menu. We have
Wow.
every summer so far we have a dish called eggplant Zurita, um,
Mhm.
and so this dish is named after my mom, but it's something that is my favorite thing that she makes for me when I was a kid,
Oh.
and so it's quite special to share with the guests. We do our own sort of twist to it. We do things like add caviar or like buckwheat. Last year we
Oh.
made a very special sauce with like late summer peppers, and then being able to storytell through the food and using
Mhm.
the plate as a way to kind of express the many times that people in my life have touched me through Filipino food and culture. Like I was blessed to have grown up with parents who cooked very well, with
Right. Oh
grandparents
gosh.
with grandparents who cooked very well, and
Mhm.
so most recently I lost my grandma in September, and we have a dish on the menu now that I love it so much. It actually keeps me connected to her every day. But it's called
Oh,
escabeche Florita. My
oh
grandma's
my
name is
gosh.
Florita. And
Mhm.
so escabeche was the very last dish that she made for me, and probably my favorite thing she would cook for us. So, my rendition of it is about as vibrant and is so much fun. And like, at first I was afraid to put this on the menu because I was like, I don't know that I can actually bear the sadness of seeing my grandma's name every day. But it's
Yeah.
actually kept me feeling so connected to her every single day. And I'm so
Oh,
grateful
wow.
for that. So,
Oh
um,
my.
yeah.
I can't wait to taste that. But Aish, that is like a lot of you honoring your heritage, like the Philippine
Hmm.
heritage. You know how we are attached with to our grandparents. I can relate. So
Yes.
this is like a fun memory for you.
Hmm. Absolutely.
Great. Amazing. So
Um,
how is the response of the market? Are they receptive? Are they?
so receptive. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so supportive. We had a
And
guest
it's
who
not even
also lost.
Filipino.
No, and so like this, the intention is that we're not cooking all Filipino food. This is
Mm-hmm.
my lens on Pacific Northwest like cuisine, and also, when I joined the team, I remember I wanted to put a rice dish on the menu, and they were like, oh,
Okay.
like the owners were like, but rice, like, I mean, and I'm like, look, I know that it's not as important to you, but
Mm-hmm.
it's the center of our cuisine in the Philippines. You have to eat rice with everything else. I was like, everything else is just cherry on the cake, which means that if you're eating fish or meat, then you're not doing so bad in life. If you have ulam, if you have something to eat with your food, um,
Yes.
then it just means that you have a lot to be grateful for. So
Mm-hmm.
I've put rice on the menu, and I've shared experiences and also like really heartfelt like memories from my family. And honestly, you know, even as recent as a few weeks ago, we had a guest
Yes.
who was in tears because she also
Mm.
has recently lost her grandma. And she was like,
Oh.
I lost my Lola too. And she
Mhm.
actually also made escabeche. So, you know,
Oh.
it's the ability to touch people and also expand the diversity of our guests. Like right now, we have so many Filipino guests every single night.
Really
So
amazing.
many, so many kabayans in the dining room. And I'm
That's word
honored
of
every
mouth,
single
I
time.
suppose.
Yeah, it is. And I think a lot of excitement and pride around this being such a top tier position.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a very respectable program for a long time. And so to take on, to take the helm of something as the first woman, as a Filipino American, I'm also feeling the pride and the representation, right? Like
Yes,
I didn't have a Filipino American chef to look up to. And so now I'm hoping that I can be that person for a lot of others, right?
I'm
So
sure that's your mom and your dad and your grandparents that had given you all this, subconscious, in fact, memories of the food that you ate before when you were like little. So, Aish,
Yes.
tell us about this activity right now, which is being undertaken by Canlis.
Yeah, so we have been invited to do a collaboration with a local restaurant called Little Woody's. They have several branches in the Seattle area, and they have one in Tokyo as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and they had asked me to do this a few times, and I had never been able to commit because of my schedule. And then this year we made it happen. So I thought, number one, if I'm going to do something, I'm going to use flavors from Mindanao because, in the diaspora or the greater conversations of the Philippines, the South is
Mm-hmm.
often left out, right?
Right.
So it's usually centrally focused or northern focused. And so, I'm excited about the idea of like, wherever I can give a voice to Mindanao, I try to do that.
You're
Whether
amazing.
it's special dinners or whether it's like, people have never had piaparan before. And like, that is like
Yes.
soul food for Maranaos, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
my idea of using a neighboring tribe, the Tausug dish of, pamapa itom.
Mm-hmm.
I had gotten a chance to experience this in one of my trips to visit my
What is
Lola
the counterpart
recently.
in English of that?
It's
Mama.
it's so it's like a blackened coconut,
Oh.
basically curry that is in the Tausug
Wow.
tribe, and so this is the origins are from Zamboanga,
Mm-hmm.
and I had a chance to taste this style of curry one of the last few times I was in the Philippines visiting my Lola, and
Mm-hmm.
it really just like it's so reminiscent of piaparan, and like really the only difference is they burn the coconut and
Mm-hmm.
Maranaos toast the coconut, and
Uh-huh.
so
Oh,
it's they have it they call it pamapa and we call palapa, right?
I see.
um, and so
Similar.
I thought it would be fun to share something that you can really only get when you're in Mindanao.
Mm-hmm.
um, and it's funny. A food blogger tasted it yesterday and was like, "Oh, this gives me more like Thailand flavors." And this food blogger, of course, is Filipino, and I don't want to make
Southeast
fun of
Asia.
him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to make fun of the guy, but he was like, "Yeah, it doesn't really taste like the Filipino food that I grew up with." And I'm like, "This guy is not from the South." You know, like that was the entire point of sharing this, is that
Right.
you don't often get to experience flavors or storytelling or really any representation of Tausugs, you know, Maranaos,
Mhm.
you know, like just in general, like you don't hear a lot about Mindanao people, right?
No.
And so I'm so deeply proud of that heritage and those roots. And I feel like every time I get the chance to, I just get excited about sharing those flavors and talking about that.
You're so
Um,
amazing. That's why you land in the papers.
um,
Aish, tell us about what is Pyanggang chicken.
so the idea was
This
from
chicken
the
that we're
Pyongyang.
showing.
Yeah, the
Chicken sandwich.
Pyongyang chicken is actually technically a curry, and instead of
Mm,
doing the curried version, you know, nobody is going to say no to fried chicken. So we
right.
wanted to take the idea of the chicken curry and instead use the kind of curry sauce.
Hmm.
We make our own like pamapa itom, and like we season it with you know, more chilies and like a little bit of um, what's it called? Dato puti, just to give it a little bit of acid. We fold that with some mayonnaise, and like that's what coats the chicken.
Uh-huh. Oh,
Um,
yummy.
we also have some raw onions on top. I feel like, you know, raw onions are such a vibrant part of like eating anything from kinilaw to, you know, sinoklaw, like all those things. So
Hmm.
um, and then on top of that as well, we have some pickled cucumbers just for a little bit of crunch.
Uh-huh.
The cucumbers are actually
I'm,
compressed in
my mouth is
sausawan.
watering.
Good, good, good. I
So
wish I
how
could
much
send you
is
one of
that
these.
sandwich? How much are you selling that for?
So the cool thing is like Canlis has become such an iconic luxury brand, right? Like our tasting or not tasting menu, our menu is currently $180. This sandwich is $12.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's inexpensive for what it is.
Yeah.
Um, and it's a glimpse as to like some of the fun that we get to have with the food. Like, yes, we're a serious fine dining restaurant, but like we're not too cool to have fun. And I'm
Yes.
not too cool to turn my back on my roots. So like for me, it's just a chance to be able to express flavors from a place that means so much to me. So, you know.
That's cool. I want to taste that though. So if we buy that, you said there is a portion that goes to the youth development in Seattle.
Yeah, so on the final day of the sandwich sales, which will be on Monday the 12th,
Mm,
the so Little Woodies will be matching the sales from the sandwich.
great.
And the match sales will benefit a program, a youth program with the
Hmm.
Filipino Community Center. It's so cool. I read about it. I really want to get, they've invited me to come and visit and take a tour, and
Awesome.
maybe I can talk to the little kids there. But you know, I think about how special this class is. It's a free class for school-age children,
Hmm.
and when I was young and my parents were both working,
Hmm.
if you know, I often think of like my stage of immigration as the assimilation period. Like I was moving into a predominantly white area with not a
Right.
whole lot of Filipinos, with
Hmm.
no nanay, no daddy, no lola,
I know.
and so
Just you,
uh,
nuclear family.
just a nuclear family in West Virginia, and so you know, we had no access to really anything about our Filipino American roots. And
Mm,
what that does to you psychologically is it makes you ashamed. It makes
really?
you hide. It makes you not proud of who you are. And so I have had
Oh.
to do a lot of personal work to reverse um, my,
Hmm.
you know, my like basically just to give myself education and knowledge and empower myself as to why it's important to, you know, speak my language or hang on to my heritage and hang on to my cultural like influences, um,
Hmm.
and also like have this tremendous amount of respect and love for my ancestors because I wouldn't be here, you know,
Hmm.
where I am today without them. Like the spirit
Amazing.
of like my ancestors are. I always think about that. I fight for everything in my life, and I
Mhm.
was born into a family that fought for opportunity, you know?
Amazing
So
you. But Aisha, I am so interested to now. It strikes me, like you said, when you growing up, you're ashamed of your heritage.
yeah,
How did you decide to be proud of it? Because I understand second generation Filipino Americans are either proud or ashamed. So, what
yeah.
made you swing towards the pride
I
of it?
mean, there's so much intersection, Tita. The
Mm.
truth is that, like, within the Filipino community,
Yes.
I was also shunned. They're like, why does your name sound so different? You sound like Malaysian or Indonesian. Why are
Yeah.
you
Not
Muslim rather
not
than
not
Catholic?
Spanish sounding.
Yeah, and so there were all these questions, and when you are completely othered your entire childhood,
Mm.
and even within the smaller community of Filipinos you meet, you feel different
Yeah.
from them, and they make sure that you know you're different from them.
Oh my. Uh-huh.
Your skin's darker, you have a
Mhm.
different sounding name. Um, you know, it's your quintessential like Asian American kid who grew up in the 90s. Like I remember going to school and my parents packing me fried hot dog, rice, and ketchup, and my
Okay.
schoolmates laughing at me.
Oh,
And then I went home and I remember crying and telling my parents like never to pack my lunch again. And then I think about
oh
that and
my
I'm like,
God.
I'm so sad that I had to go through that, but also like, those are the times where I felt ashamed to be who I am. And the
Mm.
more I learned about my Maranao side, the more I learned about like Nanay and her family and what they did to further themselves in their education.
Yes.
Um, the more I learned about my ancestors, I'm so like as I continued like my path in food as well. Food was a big part of this. Like it made me
Right.
so proud of the fighters, the fighting spirit, that
Mm-hmm.
warrior spirit, like throughout my ancestors. Like my
Right.
great grandpa and what he did to fend off the Americans and the Spanish and the Japanese. Like
Yes.
there's a reason why I have my name. So it
Mm-hmm.
made me understand that I was looking at this in the complete opposite way, and I was a
Mm-hmm.
product of assimilation. And so, just because
Yes.
you're a product of something doesn't mean that you're stuck there. You can empower yourself by learning a lot more about your roots and your heritage and celebrating that instead. So
Mm-hmm.
you start hearing these stories and you're like, oh my gosh, this is so like, I'm so proud to have the family that I have. I'm
Mm-hmm.
so proud to have the history that we have, and like the struggle and like what it's done for us. It's done nothing but made me, um, it has allowed me to use my anger to focus my energy into things that I can achieve to keep uplifting our status, our brand, our name, our recognition. Like I will keep fighting for that wherever I can,
Amazing you. Oh my
So
God. You're giving me goosebumps with that revelation of yours. That's really something. I'm so proud of you. I'm so glad we have this conversation right now.
hmm
That's just simply great. And you will be an inspiration to your generation who
I
will be
hope
able to
so.
listen to this. Yeah. So how nice is that? And so, Aish, tell me about the food that you're creating, other than being inspired by Lola on your daddy's side. I know this was the last article I wrote about you. This is
Uh-huh.
your tribute to grandma, who you said was already old to cook, and you wanted to revive her cooking. And so it lands on this landed on I guess New York Times. It also
Um,
became part of my print material after Awesome Online Magazine. So, Aish, could you refresh us about this first, the chicken, Pyanggang chicken?
yeah. Oh, actually, so this is the piaparan, and
Yeah, parang,
I
sorry.
made that's okay. I made this dish most recently. We flew in a friend of mine from Bogota, Colombia, and his
Wow.
specialty is to like, share his vibrancy of like flavors from Bogota, Colombia with the world. And so he's an
Mm,
old friend of mine, and we did a collaboration dinner here. Um, Again, I just my direction of food and the things that make me feel alive inside are when I can put something on the plate that represents my people and the stories of my people. So
so do you
um,
push this to the client on the table?
we did.
Does
So
the waiter say that? Are they
no,
educated to do that? Oh, no.
they actually they get to have some level of like information about it ahead of time. You
I
know, like
see.
for example, piaparan, I talked about it being kind of the heart of the cuisine of Marinos. And so
Mhm.
palapa, piaparan, and a few, you know, for me, it was important a few years ago. My wife and I traveled to the Philippines to visit Lola. We
Mm.
surprised both of my grandparents
Mhm.
because, you know, I realized like we live in Asia, we're not getting any younger. And so the idea of the trip was like to go spend time with Lola. And I try to see if it's possible to cook with Lola. And so we cooked piaparan with Lola. We made biko, and Lola makes the best biko. She also makes really amazing suman.
I just had
Um,
Biko today.
yeah, no, so you know, I have worked in some really tough kitchens around the world, and I remember Lola is just sitting there, sort of silently judging me as I'm like washing the rice, and I'm not typically the kind who gets intimidated. I'm not the type who gets intimidated easily, but when Lola is watching you,
Uh-huh.
I was
You get
very
intimidated.
intimidated, and so it was it was so funny. She's so wise, like her wisdom is insane. So you know, she's kind of just like pacing up and down the line, the
Really?
kitchen at
Uh-huh.
my tita Sinab's house, and
Mm.
we're cooking down coconut milk, and it's fresh coconut milk from the market. You know, they
Wow.
press it fresh.
Uh-huh.
Um, we have all like the pulp and everything, and so we're cooking down the coconut milk with all of the sugar and
Uh-huh.
then the sticky rice, and
Oh
I'm
my.
waiting for it to get ready, and like I'm like, Lola, how do you know when it's ready? And she keeps just walking by, just staring at it.
Uh-huh.
She picks up a banana leaf and she coats the top, looks at the
Uh-huh.
banana leaf, and is watching the fat break, and like she can tell when
Uh-huh.
the fat breaks, that's
It's
when it
cooked.
becomes ready. Yeah, so like
Wow.
she's done this so many times
Uh,
that she
it's like
knows it by
intuitive,
sense.
almost
Yes, yeah,
intuitive cooking.
yep. And so, and that's for me, like that's the kind of cook that I am. I'm also a very intuitive cook, but to watch your
Oh,
grandma make something
nice.
that you've enjoyed like your whole life,
Mm.
um, in my mind, in that moment, like it was bittersweet because I was like, this is probably the last time that Lola will cook with you. You
Oh,
know, this is probably the last time that like, and now that is the case. So,
right.
you know, right now it's like I hang on to those moments, and like as stressful as it was to fly and like you know try to surprise your grandparents, like it's absolutely worth it every single time.
Mm-hmm.
um and you have no regrets because you know like um
Yes.
our grandparents know so much, right?
Yes,
Like my
it's your
Lola,
generational transfer and love transfer, you know.
yes, I
You bring
mean
it with you. That's good.
the
I'm sure
my
they're blessing you
they are.
with yes, yes, that's why you have this wonderful path. Also your heart is so for it and you're so authentic. That's why that happens. Things happen that way.
Yeah,
You're amazing. So
I'm
tell me,
yeah.
in your experience, you started with, you went to Japan, you went to Spain, and now you're then you went to Thailand, and now in the U.S. again.
Hmm.
Which is the best kitchen to work with? What
Oh,
country? Or can you say where,
hmm.
or at least where you just learned the most or enjoyed the most?
I would say like that's such a
Or
hard one
maybe,
because
mhm,
the kitchen cultures are all so different. You know, like in Japan, they're still struggling with allowing women in the space. It's a very
uh-huh,
like it's a predominantly male dominated like environment and space,
really?
and like so you know, and that goes for everywhere.
Mm-hmm,
In Thailand, women are like for me, and you know, as far as experiencing equality, you'll see a
mm-hmm,
lot of women in the kitchen in Thailand. Um,
uh-huh,
in the US, I've worked with a ton of women here as well, so it's not so bad. But I would say Japan was quite difficult in that way.
mm-hmm.
Um, Spain is hyper organization for the restaurant that I was spending time in there. And then
Oh,
I learned a lot about cooking and food
mm-hmm,
probably through a restaurant that I worked in California. So
mm-hmm.
Americans are very efficient. So we
Oh,
work with
really?
efficiency, we work clean, we work efficient. We just have our ways of organizing things
Mm-hmm,
that just are so different from other countries.
mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, I don't know that there's like for me like the American culture of cooking is so different. They're all so different, and I value each one in a very different way.
Mm-hmm.
So
So you have no favorite?
I have no technical favorite.
Not even
I don't know that
Filipino.
I can say. I will say like the Filipinos, like, because I've worked in such high-end fine dining, like I can be quite disciplined. I can be militaristic. My parents are always like, maldita ka, because I'm so direct. And so it serves you well to be direct in the kitchen.
Yes.
You have to know what you want, and you have to know how to communicate that to the people around you, So my mom is always like, "You're too opinionated," and I'm like, "Okay."
It's fine. You're an alpha girl.
Yeah, I am.
But then
Proudly.
to wrap up, tell us your journey. Like, you were supposed to be a basketball player, and then you became a culinary artist. What was the turning point there? We were all like looking at you, all the kids growing up. Ladies and gentlemen, Aisha is a daughter of my colleagues in college. And so we have this super bond, and we talk about our children, and we talk about you growing up. So what twist was that, Aisha, that you decided to be a culinary artist?
I look back on that, and I am very grateful to my parents for being, first of all, for not murdering me, because that was a very privileged decision to make. Like, my mom came to this country with like $200 and built our lives. And she did it with all of the hard work. And like, I'm proud today that I feel like I have learned a work ethic from her,
Yeah.
And I'm so proud of that.
Shout out mommy Zurita.
But my path was clearly carved out for me, and my parents were like, "Oh, wow, like buotan sa akong bata, like she's so well behaved, she like does all these things, she has good grades, she's going to go to the university that we want." And surprise, there was just a period in my life where I feel like I was sort of burning out from basketball, was the truth. And I had other ambitions that I wanted to pursue. And I also had like some really dark moments there. Like, I lost the coach that recruited me, passed away from non-Hodgkin's lymphoma very quickly. And I had never lost anyone like that before. A friend of mine had died. And this all happened in like 6 months. And so as like a 19-year-old who hadn't really had much bad things happen to her, like I was ill-equipped to handle that well. I had to like put everything down because I was like struck with like so much grief that I just did not know how to, like, normally even through high pressure situations, I can put one foot in front of the other and like keep moving. And this was for me, like, I didn't know what to do. And I kept thinking and asking myself really big questions as to like, what is happiness? What does it mean? How will I find it? Like, what does it mean for me in my future? And so, in this time frame, I started to cook a little bit more, and like I started to feed my teammates and like play around with like cooking and things like that. And so, honestly, I fell into it on accident.
I see.
I was blessed to have both of my grandparents and my parents all being great cooks. And one thing I can say too was very informative for me was like, in Filipino culture, we don't always say things like "I love you." We're not. We don't express in that way. But like, for example, like when I was saying goodbye to my nana at her funeral, the very first question that she always asks me when I see her, no matter what, she says, "And have you eaten yet?" Is her way of saying
it's
I love
stomach
you.
Thing.
Yeah, but that's my grandma's way of saying I love you, and that's my Lola's way of saying I love you.
Right.
And like, so in Filipino culture, I realized like for me, like that was something that gave me so much happiness inside.
Yes.
I couldn't speak to my feelings always. I couldn't express them very well, and I was finding myself so lost. But I found a voice somehow and like a path somehow through food and cooking. And I think a lot of that connection was because of my grandparents and my parents. And so I consider that like the foundation of like why I enjoy what I do. Like, this doesn't feel like a job anymore. So I feel blessed in that way. Like I just get to do something that gives people happiness and makes them feel cared for. And that's something that like my grandparents always made me feel, So that's kind of the intention behind it. That feels holistic for me. it was very natural, and it was a path that I was bound to be led down
Mhm.
because of the amount of love that my grandparents had showed me as a kid, you know. So
You are so one lucky child, grandchild.
I very lucky Apple.
Yes, because you're also the eldest. So, the eldest have the attention. The first
I know.
grandchild is always an exciting one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're making good use of it. So I
Yeah.
wish you all the best, Aisha, and thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for your
And
time.
I'll be hopefully scheduling going to Seattle, and I'm sure I'm going to be dining in Canlis to
I
taste
hope
your food.
so.
Yes.
Yes, we hope to
And
have
all
you
the
here,
best to
Tita.
you and Sam. Thank you for your time, and keep doing what you're doing, making us proud.
Thank you, Tita. You take care. See you soon.
Take care too. Bye bye, ladies and
Bye.
gentlemen. Miss Aisha Ibrahim. We will be right back. Hello. I hope you enjoyed that interview with Miss Aisha Ibrahim in Seattle, the executive chef of Canlis Fine Dining Restaurant. So it was heartwarming culturally and food wise. So all the best. I hope you enjoyed it. And remember, ladies and gentlemen, take care of yourselves and take care of each other. See you again in our next episodes. Bye for now.